Hello and welcome back to Dreamhack Dallas coverage round number 9. I am Mason Clark, joined by Arya Karamchandani, and we are here with the last round of standard play for today. Don't worry, tomorrow we're going to have more magic for you. We're going to crown a winner. We're going to see who's going to the Pro Tour, who's going to Worlds. But on that way, let's check and see who our undefeated players are, Arya. That way we can get a check-in here. We saw Alan Wu in our feature match area last round. We're going to see him again as our main feature this round. Adam Hernandez, you might know him as Yeoman5 online. He is also undefeated. Charles Wong and Jack Doucette, also 8-0. All of those players are in a great position to make the Pro Tour, especially if they win the last round today going into the number 2. With lots of other strong players we've seen in various places here on the board at 7-1. You know, Jason Yu, we saw in the feature match area 2 rounds ago, seems to have picked up 1 loss in that time, but it's going to be a lot more battling happening tomorrow. With that all being said, let's jump down and see what deck list we are looking at this round in our feature match here. We talked about Alan Wu earlier, who we saw on the Temur Analyst deck just last round, Arya. And Alan's going to be playing against Gruul Ramp from Jack, one of the other 8-0s. And Arya, talk to me about what you think about this Temur deck growing into this Gruul Ramp deck.
So the Gruul Ramp deck, which we're going to look at, is pretty combo. It's a ramp deck, but it's got like this combo top end with Terror of the Peaks and Calamity. And this is one of the places where I feel like the Temur deck is a little awkwardly set up. Well, a lot of your removal is damage based and doesn't do that much damage, so can't reliably kill things in the mid game, and struggles a little with the fact that if you're both ramping, the Gruul deck will just kill you first. It's the Gruul deck's endgame comes on turns 4, 5, 6, and it's trying to combo kill you with Calamity and Terror of the Peaks. And so that leaves the Temur deck matched up pretty awkwardly into it, where I think the Temur deck's a little slower to actually get to killing you. And because of the way the Temur deck's interaction is set up, it's a bit of a 2 ships passing in the night situation game 1, where neither is that good at interacting with the other.
All right, then. Well, that being said, let's head on down into our feature match area and see how it plays out, because Jack's deck is very exciting, and we have seen it do pretty well at some of the other RCs. And I mean, Jack's 8-0 can't be that bad.
Yeah, I really love this deck. I have no defense. The whole Calamity Terror of Peaks combo is extremely cool, and the fact that folks have managed to find a way to like put that into a viable standard shell is extremely sweet.
Yeah, right. I mean, you working on the play design team, this is kind of the stuff that y'all love to see, right? It's like we hope these cards come into the real world and land, and then you see it like this, it's got to be rewarding.
Yeah, seeing all these like fringe interactions that they're cool and like we knew about them, they could kill you, but it's like but only so many of these interactions can actually hit in standard because they're like fairly like stuff like this is fairly clunky and needs the right shell around it. So seeing interactions like this actually hit, not just be theory crafted, is really sweet and always a delight.
Yep. We're going to see Alan Wu pop the Rotier's Lookout, grab the mountain, play the forest. Jack just went land 1, land 2, pass the turn. Nothing crazy there. Garen Briggs Gift picking up the land, passing the turn, back to Jack. We do see a bunch of big creatures in hand for Jack, including a Topiary Stomper, which might be the play this turn to go get another land, get us closer to what we're looking for. And that does seem to be the play.
Yeah, we saw a smuggler surprise in Jack's hand to go with some big creatures, and I would not be surprised at all to see that get put into play on turn to see that get used on turn 6 to on 6 mana to put 2 things into play with the goal of having them end the game immediately. Unclear whether that'll actually work, depends what the 2 things are.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like there's at least one Trumpeting Carnosaur in Jack's hand, so that's going to put a ton of power into play. And if one of those other things is maybe a Terror of the Peaks, this could be disastrous for Alan Wu, as we do have a dinosaur named on Cavern of Souls. I love that that is the thing we get to do.
Yeah, one card I want to point out that Jack's really looking to draw to here is Calamity. Galloping Inferno. Calamity put into play with either Trumpeting Carnosaur or Terror of the Peaks pretty much ends the game instantly. So I think that's the main thing Jack is hoping to draw. I believe there's 2 Carnosaurs even, one to kill the Nissa, and then another one left over for after if you cast a Smuggler Surprise.
Yeah, I think you get to plot that outcast Trailblazer there. It looks like we're just going to hardcast it. And then, yeah, use the mana to kill the Nissa immediately. I forgot we had not played our land for turning it there. And yeah, now Alan Wu has nothing on board. You've got this outcast Trailblazer, and like you're talking about, the Smuggler Surprise can put in these Terror Dragons, and we're just going to overwhelm Alan with big creatures pretty quickly here.
Yeah, I think it really comes down to the next draw step or two for Jack. As it stands, there's not really anything worth putting in a Smuggler's Surprise. It's probably just going to be a Carnosaur that gets cast, which, that's not too shabby. That's still quite something. But if there's a big draw, if there's a Terra, if there's another 5 or 6 drop, then that could just be the end of the game.
Arya, I think Jack drew Terror of the Peaks, and with the Outcast, we're going to draw 2 more cards anyways. Here's a Smuggler Surprise. And the surprise is, Alan Wu, there's some big fatty boom booms coming on the board, as it was Terror of the Peaks and Trumpeting Carnosaur coming into play. Terror of the Peaks is going to shoot Alan. We're going to draw cards as well.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything Calamity could hit that just ends the game here. Another Topiary Stomper is close.
All right, Glimpse the Core. Not the best hit for Jack, but hey, it's a card. We're going to get to search our deck for a land, put it into play.
Yeah, notably, Glimpse does let that Topiary Stomper attack this turn, so that's still quite a helpful draw here. Applying a lot of pressure pretty quickly to Alan Wu.
Yeah, and, Jack's putting Alan in a really tough spot, right? Alan has cards like Ill-Timed Explosion to clear up Jack's board, but you need to discard some of those bigger cards to actually clear up the board. So it's putting a ton of pressure on Alan to have the right mixture of cards to not die here. Pro Tour champion Alan Wu from 2018. Can he pull out against Jack? He's got a Riveteer outlook, going to gain a life.
Yeah, so I believe the way Alan wins this is Spelunking, which hits Ill-Time Explosion, which then hits a Virtue.
Easy.
Is this only out in this spot?
Well, someone like Alan's going to see that line and pull the trigger on it. Looks like we're just lining up our mana to make sure we have the right mana to cast our spells. Here comes Spelunking. A draw card. Ooh, and it's Memory Deluge. We gain a life, but I don't think that's going to do anything, Arya. Yeah, and you see Alan picking up the cards, and Jack wins it there with a bit of a surprise against Alan. And we're going to go into game number 2 here in a second. Let's check out what these players have in their sideboard. Is there anything from Jack's sideboard that you really like against this Temur Analyst deck?
Definitely the 3 frillbacks, just having graveyard interaction, slowing down the ramp engine is pretty important. Post-board games with decks like these become a lot more mid-rangey. It's a lot more about trading 1-for-1. You're both trying to stop your opponent's game plan, so it's just a lot more about mid-rangey creatures. And in that spot, Tranquil frillback to make sure your opponent can't go over the top with the ramp. Pretty important. And then Tyrannax Rex is just yet another big threat, which is nice. And one that applies spot.
Makes sense. Let's check out what Alan Wu's going to do to try and tie it up and see if he can scrap his way up to a 9-0. Anything in sideboard for Alan in this matchup?
Titan of Industry could possibly come in as something that can go toe-to-toe with the big creatures Jack is bringing, but most Doppelgang, for similar reasons, probably something Alan wants. Mostly, though, I'm interested in those 3 negates. Just being able to counter Smuggler Surprise is pretty big, and just having interaction for the top end that we're gonna see Jack having access to. Largely, though, Alan's deck is not super set up to have good interaction for this matchup post board. The one thing the Temur Analyst deck doesn't do that well is deal with creatures with high amounts of power and toughness, or toughness specifically. And normally that's not a problem because the Temur deck goes over the top of those decks. But here it very much is because those high toughness creatures also just happen to combo kill you.
Well, with that being said, let's check out game number 2. And Arya, I'm not going to lie, I kind of want to see this go to a game 3. 1, because I love Magic, but 2, I want to see Jack put in a Terror of the Peaks, and then Alan will go, cool, doppelganger Terror of the Peaks for a bunch. shoot you for like a 40 million, and then we get a game 3. I think that'd be a sick way to go.
That would be pretty nice to see. I also wouldn't mind seeing the full 4 virtues in play, so we get to 81 tuple mana.
Ooh, 81 tuple mana is once again not a real thing. As we are going to play force for both players and pass the turn. Mountain coming down. Aftermath Analyst hitting the battlefield. Mill 3. We hit a mountain, so we are going to be able to go up a land. We're going to see Carplusian Force and the Glimpse the Core. Glimpse the Core when a card came out, I really thought was going to see play at some point during its standard life. Just getting a basic for 2 mana is so good. Something we didn't see for years and years, and it's good to see it finally kind of making its day in standard as the Analyst is POW, getting in for 1 before Nissa gets played.
Yeah, it's a pretty good example of the things we're able to do in larger standard that would have been difficult to do beforehand, where in a smaller standard environment, Glimpsicle, one of the stronger things you can be doing. This 2 mana ramp is very powerful, but now that we're in this larger standard, we have like much larger we have larger error bars available on our card. We can afford to take some higher risks, and Glimpsicle instead lands at a sometimes played rather than heavily played, both of which would have been okay. But I think it's pretty indicative of the difference in how we can, of the sort of cards we can print and the range of cards we can print and how many of them we can print now that we're in this larger standard environment.
Yep, we see Spinal Armadillo going to be discarded, gain 3 life, grab the mountain, play Volcanic Spite, kill that Nissa, and I don't know if Jackson will put our card on bottom or not. We're going to find out in a second. He does need to finish resolving the shuffle. Players are just shortcutting here a little bit with, taking that off the board. And it looks like Jack's like, nah, these cards are good enough. I'm going to keep them. And Alan Wu's going to untap and be thinking, well, those cards are good enough for him to keep. I hope mine are good enough to win.
Yeah, notably, no SNC fetch lands played this game makes Aftermath Analyst a lot weaker than it frequently is in this spot. It's just not a very powerful ramp spell at this point.
Yeah, we see Nissa play a mountain, make a green off the ability to play an Aftermath Analyst. Mill. All right, we did hit an SNC fetch land in an island. So now those Analysts are going to not only get us blue mana, but, put us up a decent amount.
Yeah, in this spot for Jack, I think he really wants to either, well, in an ideal world, have something like a Tranquil Throwback to hit the graveyard to make sure Alan can't get any value off this Aftermath Analyst, but at the very least have some interaction for that Nissa to be able to, to make sure that Alan's at least not getting a lot of mana off of this.
Yep. Trumpeted Carnosaur gets channeled to blow up the Nissa. Jack paying very close attention to that Nissa. Does not want to get out of hand. We do see a Splunking in hand for Alan Wu, along with a Negate and a Forest.
Yeah, notably no untapped blue mana this turn. So if Jack has, say, Smuggler Surprise into Calamity plus Terror of the Peaks, the game will still just be over.
Yep. We are going to see Alan tank here for a second. He's going to play his land for turn. This is an interesting spot, right? Because Alan could play Spelunking and draw a card, or can hold up the mana, make it look like we have a bit more than we actually do, and activate the Aftermath Analyst later, get the blue mana, so next turn we actually do have the negate. Looks like Alan's going to go for that. Decides it's better to sort of make Jack maybe think about something else and guarantee my blue mana than take a risk. And we do see Calamity Surprise. I'm sorry, the surprise. Is there going to be a Calamity involved, though? There is. And is that a Galta? Oh, no, sorry. That's a Tranquil Throwback. Okay. Excuse me. I thought that was the Galta and Maverick card for a second. And I was like, oh, boy.
Yeah, Tranquil Throwback, not quite what you want to be putting into Calamity. But just having Calamity on board is so big here for Jack. Given we know what Alan's hand is, there's not really easy interaction for it. It would need to be something like All-Timed Explosion into a big thing to discard. And the negate in hand starts looking really awkward now that the Calamity is down and you just need some creature or other to combo with it.
Yep. And now we're seeing Alan get hit down to 15. He's going to untap now. He does have a ton more mana than we just saw a second ago. Fires of Victory is the draw for Alan.
And unfortunately, pretty tough to get to 6 cards in hand in this spot.
Yeah. Could kill the Tranquil Throwback, but obviously, yeah. Let's take a second to read Calamity Galloping Inferno. That is a card that is important to make sure you fully understand. what it does. And Alan's going to ask a question away from the table, which you should always do if there's ever a moment when you're unsure of exactly what's going on. And we're going to pause that match there, timer, so that way the judge can talk away. Much easier than writing plus X time or whatever, just actually have to pause when the benefits of the future match area. And Arya, I'm really liking this Gruul deck here from Jack. It is very powerful and seems to be pretty well positioned against stuff like this, which in my mind are some of the better decks. Maybe you struggle a bit more against cards like No More Lies, but this seems really good.
Yeah, definitely a commanding performance from it so far, and indicative of the way you can really attack a metagame, with the way you can build your deck such that it exploits very specific weaknesses of like these combo and synergy shells, where it's not that the Temur Analyst deck is like generally weak to mid-range or control or aggro. It's that it has a specific weakness of not being able to deal with high toughness creatures that win the game on their own, that like end the game, that literally end the game rather than just taking over.
Mm-hmm.
And being able to like build a deck to exploit that specific weakness and have your deck set up to be well positioned in the metagame, because it turns a normally unfavored matchup on its head by like exploiting that weakness, is one of the really nice things. One of the things I really like about this diverse standard environment.
Yeah, we're going to see Spelunking come down and get a draw. We hit an island. Might not want to put that one in play with Fires of Victory. Maybe you do. Alan's kind of thinking about that right now. And yeah, we're going to see a passing of the turn here for Alan. So I think Alan might have been asking, Arya, what happens if I kill the creature that saddles? Will Jack get the copy?
Yeah, I believe the answer to that is yes. Oh, yeah. It might not be.
I think it's no, yeah.
Calamity requires you to choose a creature as part of the trigger. It doesn't just create a token, 2 token copies of something to saddle at this turn.
Yeah. Now you can saddle multiple times correctly. So if Jack had like another one, he could do that. Yes. Oh, well, what if we had a Tyrannix Rex? Would that be good?
Yeah, that seems pretty good to me. Seems like a pretty tough spot for Alan to be in.
This is an 8/8 with the spells can't be countered. It has Trample, Ward 4, and Haste, and has Toxic 4. This is a card that you'll see players like Jack bring in against decks like Blue-White Control and other decks that are trying to interact on 1-for-1 axes. And in this spot, it is a real headache for Alan because, believe it or not, Alan's little Fire Victory cannot shoot down the Rex, let alone pay the war. And you see Alan smiling. He's like, well, you know what? Good beats are good. 8-1's not a bad way to play to end the day. And yeah, he's just going to get hit with a bunch of dinosaurs and horses. And, he's going to try and stay alive, but it's going to be a really tough position to come back from.
I believe this should just be lethal. Yeah.
Yeah. Congratulations to Jack. They're moving on to 9-0 with the surprising Gruul Ram deck. And you see, he's so excited, so happy. And it's also just a wild spot to be in. And, congratulations to those players. What an absolutely amazing thing. But, Arya, as amazing as that was, this is going to be the end of today's broadcast. And before we go, we want to give one last shout out to the stream sponsor, Heavy Play. Check out Heavy Play LLC. You can use the code Dallas2024 to pick up something like their curved sleeves or their ETB playmat. They have all those products with demo videos on the website. Go check that out. See if it's the right fit for you. And thank you once again to Heavy Play for supporting the stream. Arya, it was a blast to be in the booth with you today. I cannot wait to do it again someday. And tomorrow we're going to have more coverage starting at 10:30 a.m. Central Time. We'll take a look over here. Basically, if you're in a different time zone, you don't really know them, we're going to do it in 13 hours. 13 hours, be back. That's when it's going to start. We're going to have lots of Magic coverage for you all then. I cannot wait to see you all then. And once again, Arya, thank you so much for joining me in the booth today.
Yeah, pleasure casting with you.
And that is going to do it. We will see you all tomorrow for more Magic and see who's going to go to the Pro Tour, who's going to go to Worlds, and who's going to win $30,000. See y'all then.